Creed Odyssey Athens. We are standing here at the base of the Acropolis. As you can see, or hear rather, the ambient dialogue is in Greek. It's modern Greek, but it does provide a nice touch. So if you hear people chattering in Greek, then feel free to ignore them. We are going to proceed up the long pathway to the Acropolis. As you can see, it's very high up, definitely the highest point in the city. At this point in the timeline, the Acropolis structures are still being built, so you will see some construction. Um, and feel free to ignore the path lines here in the quest markers. I don't know how to make them go away. But we are now approaching the monumental gateway to the Acropolis Sanctuary, the Propylion. And as we walk up here, we can see the Temple of Athena Nike up here, which is still being rebuilt after being destroyed by the Persians. On the left here, we have a dining hall with a number of wall decorations inside. Now, as we proceed through the gateway here, we're going to be greeted with the absolutely monumental bronze statue of Athena. Now, this reconstruction is a little bit off in that they've pretty much replicated what the statue inside the Parthenon looks like and just stuck it out here and made it bronze. We know from Roman period coins that her left arm here, or her right arm rather, with the spear, would have been stretched out and holding something, probably an owl, but she still would have had the shield in her left hand. Now, we know that the statue was extremely large, and Phidias claims that you were able to see the tip of her helmet glinting from Sunion, which is a number of kilometers away off the coast. So as you rounded the bend um, to go into Athens here, so we've got Sunion down here. As you rounded the bend here and went into the Bay of Athens, you would be able to see that bronze statue. So going further in, we've got the sacred olive tree of Athena here. And on our left side here, we've got a number of dedications, smaller temples. This is the Erechtheion. So if we walk in, we can see that they've got their statue of Poseidon in here, reflecting, of course, where he made the spring come into being during his battle for the city with Athena. If we walk around to the other side of it, so we've got the sanctuary here for Athena Polias. Or again, they don't have the proper statue recreated, but at the very least they've made it different from the Parthenon one. We walk around the south side here, we get to the caryatid porch. They have reconstructed these as being colored. But you can kind of see how they work architecturally. And here, and then of course there's the crypt down underneath where the mythical king Kekrops was buried. And then somewhere underneath the building was another crypt for Athena's sacred snakes. switch to Eagle View here for a minute, you can see the weird architecture that's going on. So this isn't your typical Greek temple. It's kind of stretching out in various directions to make sure that it hits all of those sacred spots. Now they've put the altar of Athena between the Parthenon and um, the kind of northeastern area of the Erechtheion here. The altars always would have been outside. Here they reconstructed it with fruit offerings. So we've got apples and flowers and pears, a number of amphora, a lemon tree. So this one wouldn't be affected too much if it was inside, but if you were, say, burning an offering, the last thing you want to do is get all of that smoke stuck inside your temple and spoiling the other offerings in there. You also aren't able to see the sacrifices that well, so it's just better to have it outside. Now, coming up here to the Parthenon, on our right, we can see we've got our Doric columns here. We've got our triglyphs, which are the blue stripy blocks with the metopes, the pictorial blocks in between them. Now, I should note that these are not the metopes from the Parthenon. What they've done here is they've taken the imagery from the Temple of Zeus at Olympia. They pretty much just took a very small section of architectural sculpture to model in 3D, and then they've used that repeatedly in tempos throughout the game. So instead of the Parthenon metopes with the Battle of the Amazons and the Battle of the Centaurs, we have here the labors of Heracles from Olympia. You can also see the frieze up there near the top of the ceiling. So we'll go in there to get a better look at it. We've got the blocks of stylobate down here. You can see they're very large. They're not really meant to be used as stairs, so you would use stairs at either end. Alright, so you can see areas of the frieze here. Originally it would have been in low relief. Here it's just painted, and it probably would have had a blue background as well as opposed to red, but this is how they decided to do it. And you can see it runs all the way around the building continuously, which is what differentiates an Ionic frieze from Doric temple decoration, in that the Ionic frieze doesn't stop, whereas the Doric metopes are kind of self-contained narrative blocks like we see up here. So if we go around here again to the west end, we've got a number of dedications set up here, monumental entrance, and you can see our pediments up in the triangular area up there. And again, they have not used the actual Parthenon sculptures here. Since we're at the west end, we would expect to see the Battle of Athena and Poseidon. Instead, we've got some gigantomachy action going on with a chariot in the middle. We've also got some sphinxes on the corners up here as roof decoration. But the actual approach is pretty spot on. So as we walk into the west end of the temple here, you can look up, see the metal grating. We've still got the painted Doric columns and the great bronze doors, and walking into the treasury area. So this is where the more precious offerings to Athena were kept. And again, they've messed up the chronology a little bit, so our gold boxes here are actually Hellenistic. They're grave boxes from the tomb at Vergina. But the coins here are all Athenian drachmae. We've got some portrait heads there of Athena. On the reverse side, we've got her owl. And we've got some examples of jewelry, other bowls, some bits of bronze statues, armor, shields, all of the normal sort of votives that you would expect. I've also got an example of a tripod, two tripods actually, some amphorae, and some more jewelry. Copious amounts of pottery. We've got a lamp holder here, and then another richly decorated interior. And you can see that these columns are Ionic. So you can see how different they look from the Doric ones out there. So these ones are a little bit smaller, a little bit more delicate, and they've got the curls at the top, whereas the Doric just has that cushion. Alright, so we're leaving the treasury end, and we'll walk along the east side here. I'll just skip over here for a minute so you can see the view. It's really quite spectacular. And the view from the modern Acropolis is just as spectacular. So looking down, we can see more construction areas. We've got the theater here with wooden seats. So the Roman period one was made out of stone. At this point, it's wooden. Right. And we walk around the east end here, where we'd expect to see a pediment with the birth of Athena. Again, we do not. But as we walk in, this is really the masterpiece of the entire Acropolis. So we've got a kind of a hybrid temple interior here. Instead of one line of columns, we've got two lines that are stacked on each other. We've got this pool here in the center, and then we've got the magnificent chryselephantine statue of Athena by Phidias. Now this one is more or less pretty accurate. Her base, they've used scenes from the Ionic frieze again. The original, we know that it was the creation of Pandora. Her shield here, again, they've used scenes from the Ionic frieze. It should be an Amazonomachy. But they've done a pretty good job on the statue itself. So I do not condone actually climbing up works of art, but we're going to do it anyways. So the skin is all ivory, and the rest of the statue is all in gold. So Chris is part of the Greek word for gold. Elephantine, of course, means elephants, whence we get the ivory from. She's holding out a small figure of Nike, the goddess of victory, in her hand. And then her helmet here is triple crested, meaning that it has three of these crests. Reconstructed here as two flying horses and a griffin in the middle. We've also got her aegis with the head of Medusa in the center. And then this large snake, which is supporting her shield. So hopefully that will help everyone get a better handle on all of the architectural terms and get an idea of what's actually going on with the sanctuary. Pericles really did have a great opportunity to reshape this according to what he wanted as far as urban design goes and political messages go, simply because it had been destroyed and he had the opportunity to rebuild it from scratch. So, in some places he builds completely new things, other places he reconstructs old buildings or builds things on the site of older cult areas like we have with the Erection.